How y'all doing? Yeah, y'all in a good-ass mood. Welcome to this presentation of Sinners, a.k.a. Church. We got a lot of folks here involved with the film. I will waste no time bringing them out. Please welcome casting director Francine Maisler, the cinematographer of Sinners, Durald Arkapaw, its production designer, Beachler, illustrious costume designer Ruth E. Carter, Miss Ruth E. Carter, and the stars of Sinners, Jayme Lawson, Wunmi Mosaku, Caton, the legendary Michael B. Jordan, and of course, the man without whom this film would not exist, Coogler. How does it feel to be y'all right now, man? We got, I guess, so many people. I want to get to everyone. So, Ryan, I want to jump right in, man. I just want to know, coming at this point in your career, what made you decide this was going to be your next film, and how did you come up with the concept for it?
We did Panther, basically like, we were working on Panther 2, Wakanda Forever. Starting like 2019-ish. And then the pandemic happened, and then Chadwick passed away. And we ended up being on that movie for me it was like, a good 3 years. It was multiple points on that movie where we didn't know if we were gonna be able to finish it. And whenever you used to working faster than that, you start to get a little anxious. And with the pandemic came a lot of existential threats to the idea of what we do. So my favorite theaters closed, like Hollywood, for one, and things start to slow down. Movies were getting put on streaming services. So it was kind of like an existential thing. So I started to think about, if I got a shot at making another movie, I want to do something really personal and something really different from what I've been doing for the past decade, which was really like sequels, deeply personal ones, but sequels yet and still. So then coming off that movie, we had the strikes. The Writers Guild strike, the SAG after strike. And again, like the existential threats to what we do, and I'll never forget while I was home, listening to a blues record, as I often would, to remind myself of my uncle. The idea hit me, and once it kind of stuck in my head, I pitched it to Zinzi Coogler, my wife and producer on the movie, and yeah, after a few, the first pitch didn't go so well, but after I kept did some retooling and kept coming back, and then she was like, okay, yeah, maybe that might make some sense. Then we pitched Sev Ohanian, our partner at Proximity, and then eventually I told Ludwig Göransson, our composer, about it, and then and I got to work on research, and then got to work writing it.
I heard you were doing the dishes when you had this idea.
This is true. Yeah. So
I mean, first of all, the fact that he does the dishes, round of applause for that.
It's not, it ain't every day I'm doing them, but it just so happened. It just so happened I was doing them that day. Yeah.
I gotta be hard. I don't come up with shit like this when I'm doing the dishes.
You gotta put some Howlin' Wolf on next time, and maybe.
Noted. It's kind of cool, all the names that you mentioned and that you ran the idea by. That you work with on this film, none more important or all as important as the man sitting next to you, Michael B. Jordan. You guys have done, this is like the 5th collaboration at this point that you guys have done as director and actor?
Yeah, it's our 5th time in this position, but I also had the incredible chance to produce for him too. Executive produced Creed 2 that he acted in, and then his directorial debut, Creed 3, we were able to produce.
Yeah. At what point did Ryan come to you and say he wanted to do this project and he wanted you to play 50,000 roles?
Yeah, that was another quick story. I was actually calling him to pitch a project to him, and he was like, "Yeah, I see your pitch, and I raise you this one." and when he started telling me the idea of it, he would drop these bombs on me, you know, throughout. It was like, "Oh yeah, and you playing identical twins?" I was like, huh? And then there's vampires. What? You know, it was like these kind of like moments that made the story and the overall film, the idea of the movie, that much more interesting. So it kind of went down like that. You know, a quick read. Usually when he calls me and pitches an idea, he usually gets a quick answer from me. You know, so it was like almost an immediate yes. And I remember being, you know, really, nervous a little bit about the idea of it. But at the same time, equally as excited at the challenge of it, and I think that's one of the reasons why, you know, Coog really wanted to, you know, push this idea, is the fact to get me out of my comfort zone and push me to a performance and something that I haven't really done before, you know. And it would be the first movie that I would do after directing, and he wanted me to kind of, you know, take a back seat from directing and just turn that part of my brain off and strictly focus on the performance and the task at hand, which would be an extremely challenging one, playing both roles, and so that's kind of how it went down.
Miles, on the opposite end of the spectrum, not only your first time working with Ryan, it's your first time acting, period, correct? So what was the process like for you, you know, when Ryan reached out, auditioning for Francine? Just tell me about the journey you've gone on to perform this role.
Yeah. It started out with me singing background for her towards the end of the tour. Yeah, shout out to her. She's amazing. Somebody at the show saw me perform, and they said he should audition for this movie. And she called me one day and told me, she's like, you know, they want you to audition for this movie. It was super top secret, didn't have any information. And so I sent in my first interview, got a call back. Then I got the sides, which the prompt was like, he was a 19-year-old sharecropper who would have been like Sam Cooke if it was 20 years later or something. So I'm like, oh, it's gonna be a music biopic, you know, it wasn't that. I sent that in. Then after that, I got another call back, and that's when they flew me out to LA. And Francine had showed my video to Ryan, and I did the in-person audition with Francine, Mike.
But
Ryan,
wait, we could barely
Ruth.
see you on the audition. Right, Ryan?
We don't have.
Go ahead,
He was in it.
Go ahead. I gotta tell. I mean, I gotta talk
he
the
was
truth here.
the audition tape came in, and he was in like a dark basement.
Miles said method act.
I'm like, I looked at him, I'm like, yo, this kid didn't even know to turn the lights on. And then you hear this voice. He's like, hey, I'm Miles Caton, and I'm gonna be singing this song by Sam Cooke. And I was like, yo, this voice on this kid. And then he started singing, and it was like Jesus Christ, but you couldn't really see him that well. And so we asked for the call back, and then we couldn't find him. Remember?
And he had like a ring light. What did you have? I don't know.
I was trying to set the ambiance. I was trying to have I was trying to make it a moody vibe. I had the ring light. I thought it was something.
Well, we gotta finish this damn story. So then he comes to LA.
All right.
So I'll brag on the young man real quick. We reached out for a call back, heard nothing. It was crickets, and we got a bunch of other callbacks that were okay. But now I'm like Francine, what's going on with this kid in the dark? And she's like I can't. She's like, I can't find him. He won't hit us back. And then eventually she sends me a Instagram posting, and it's him in his cap and gown, and his mom. He's walking through a parking lot. I get choked up thinking about this, and his mom is narrating, and she's saying, "Yo, he did all these tours all over the world, and he still came home and finished his got his diploma." And I was like, "Oh, this kid's been." I'm like this kid's been finishing school, you know what I mean? While he's on tour, and then he eventually sent this call back, and it blew everybody away. And then he came in for the chemistry read with Mike, and we had Ludwig come just to see how good he was with the guitar. And it turns out he's a musical prodigy, but grew up playing the piano, and he had kind of learned the guitar that day for the audition. And so we casted him, and he immediately got set up with a guitar teacher, and he learned like slide blues resonator guitar in like 2 months. So.
Can I just say one thing? Just so you know, Michael B. was so generous that day in the room, and he opened his arms and like took him on, and I think that's what every actor, hopes that will happen when they come in for any audition, not just this verse. So I mean, Michael B's the man when it comes to helping other actors, and so.
Which brings me to Miss Wunmi. So, in this movie, yes, a woo for that. Yeah. The thing with Sinners is that there are multiple films within this film, and there are multiple emotions, multiple layers of spirituality, culture. There's something going on between the character of Annie and Smoke early in this film that is so intense, so deep. It's subtext that's performed, between you two actors. What was it like building this character, knowing that ultimately she got to explain to everybody, you need garlic to kill vampires. But in the beginning of the film, we're going to feel this deep, this mourning, this almost Jeremiah that's being performed between you and MBJ.
I feel like, again, like Francine said, from the moment I met Michael, he kind of was just so open and generous. From my first chemistry read with him, and so
and it was hot.
We just really shared. Me, Michael, Ryan, in Ryan's office in the rehearsal, we just shared about our lives and the things that we love the most, the things we're scared of, our own grief and hopes and dreams, and we just shared. And so, I don't know, we created this really sacred space to explore, to challenge each other, to take risks. And it just felt really natural. It didn't feel like, it just felt like everything was on the page. Everything I needed to know about Annie was in those 7 pages. Clear as day. Even his mojo bag. I feel like when they met, she poured everything she had into that mojo bag. So much so that he's like, I know it works, but why didn't it work for her? Mm-hmm. And it's just that love is so powerful, so pure, so connected. I don't know, it was just Smoke and Annie. It was just so pure.
You're sitting next to Jayme, and so I wanna make this connection, and I wanna shout you out, bro. The black women in this film are carrying so much energy, so much spirituality, so much weight, so much of the subtext of the film. I think Perlene's journey is a bit different. She's in this life that isn't allowing her to be liberated, to be as free as she wants to be. Same thing in this film. You go on this journey. When we first meet you, it's almost like a different character, a different version of herself she is allowed to reveal to the world. Just tell me about building this character, Miss Lawson, and playing with all these wonderful folks.
Yeah, I got to have a lot of fun on this one. I also love what you said. For Perlene, there's a liberation there, and I just love how that was crafted and written. I think a lot of times Ryan does a wonderful job in this movie of subverting a lot of ideas when we set something in the Jim Crow South. And I even think when we talk about women's liberation and the way in which that's depicted, and you get to see this young woman who is a sharecropper, who has this old husband that she that she don't want nothing to do with, and there's different levels of oppression that she's having to navigate, and she finds freedom in these juke joints. And when she gets up there and when she gets to sing and when she gets to be around these performers. And so that was something that I was excited to build, is like, who is this woman when she's speaking versus when she's singing? And then who is this woman when she gets to get her body involved and she gets to let loose? And really, and then also like getting to watch Ludwig in the process of making this song with Brittany Howard and hearing how it is this, you know, and I was like, yes, like I would love to get to craft that. And then getting to work with Miles, who is such a gifted individual. It really worked for our characters that we get to feed off of each other in that way. You know, that Perlene gets to hear him sing, and that wakes something up in her to give the performance of her life. You know, I really enjoyed myself, I have to say, and it was a gift, and I am forever grateful to Ryan for it, honestly.
Ms. Carter, I wanted to speak to the cast first because it's interesting. We, you know, when we make a film, you know, these folks come in, they embody these characters, and then it's your job. It's written on the body in a certain way. The clothes they're wearing, the way they move, says so much about their characters. Talk to me about working with Ryan and just building out the wardrobe on this film.
Yes, there's a level of trust that starts it all out. Ryan called and said that, you know, we were making a movie about the Mississippi Delta in 1931, and that sparked the passion in me to tell African-American history. Also that Michael would be playing his own twin. I was like, 2 Michael B. Jordans. Nice. And you know, dressing him in a period look. And then meeting the cast, you know, they come into my fitting room, and it's a transformation process. For Smoke and Stack, one side of the room was red, the other side of the room was blue, and that came from Ryan, who wanted them to be separated in that way. But I had to bring the authenticity of the period to those colors. And so we went on a journey of discovery. We went on a journey of discovery with the whole cast. You know, Wunmi comes into the fitting room, and we're wrapping her own mojo bag, and we're trying to find what colors tell the story, because colors were also very spiritual to this story. And Miles comes in, and this is his first time in a movie fitting, so he's like, I don't know anything about these clothes. But he trusted us. So that level of trust, I think, and give and take was very prevalent in the fitting room, and was very helpful for the transformation process, because, you know, we did a lot of trials. I remember Ryan came into Michael's fitting just as he put on the red hat, and he went crazy. And he went upstairs, and people were coming down. He's like, let's see that red hat. What red hat? So, you know, it's a real family. It's a real sharing. It's a real trust. And, you know, when you have a love for cinema, and when you have a love for telling the history of African Americans in the South and Mississippi Delta, where they produced the music from nothing, and you see the imagery and the photography, and you really want to bring these images to life. So when Jayme comes in and she's standing there as Perlene, you know, she's embodying the spirit of this woman before we even step into the clothes. Like, I could feel it. And when we felt like we had it right, it was really right. Her dress at the train station is my favorite. It's very sweet. it lets you know that these people traveled from plantation to plantation. These plantations were right next to each other. And so when we brought in the blues players and we could give them like a subtext, we could give them a story that they were traveling around playing the blues, and that informed what they looked like, because that's the only way they could make any money. There was, it was really tough times. We were starting into the Depression in 1929. So we also wanted to not show everyone in the exact period of the times. We wanted to bring it back some, because they're sharecroppers. If they came to the juke joint in their best dress, it was 3 years old, 4 years old, they may have made it themselves. So we played with the time, and because fashion doesn't evolve evenly, especially for sharecroppers. So that informed so much, and the actors were just, so generous in the fitting room and allowing me to play, to experiment, to find it. We were all trying to find the characters, and I felt like we successfully did so.
Hannah, my question I want to ask you falls along similar lines. I do want to say, on this stage, there are 3 people who've been there from the beginning. It's you, Ryan, and Michael B. Jordan, because you were also on Fruitvale Station. What was it like?
I was also on Moonlight.
Yeah, I know you were. I was gonna say you were on
Moonlight. Up here
Moonlight.
with 2 of the directors that I worked with. That's awesome.
I was gonna say you were on Moonlight because of Fruitvale Station. I was like, can I have it just for a little bit? So talk to me about building, especially, again, you're on the same journey. The movie begins as one thing. It's almost like a text, from history, and then it morphs into this really massive genre film, but it's got to function in both ways. Talk to me about just the approach to production design and the first conversations with Ryan about building centers.
Yeah, much like Ruth, Ryan gave me a call and was like, this movie, and he's like, I always say Ryan's like my griot, right? He tells me the story. He tells me about the people, the place, their wants, their desires, their pains, their struggles. Like, he's really building out who the people that occupy the space are. So then I can really imagine the space. I can really imagine where they are, because I understand who they are, who these characters are. And so that really informed. And he was like, is it going to be a cotton gin or a sawmill? And wanted me to kind of dig in and understand which ones of those really would serve the purpose. And, and Ryan asked me to dig in, he's probably going to get a 200-page something or 400-page something back, because I just go in, I want to make sure that he's got the information and we can talk about why this might work and then the economy. And so it goes really there. And then he's like, it's a sawmill, and he liked that idea. So, and a lot of my influence came from, when you think about, and I will say Dennis Gassner, who did, why did I forget which Tim Burton movie? Which one? Ryan, why am I forgetting this?
Big Fish?
Big Fish. So sorry. So sorry, Tim Burton and Dennis Gassner. I'll never again forget. But that, because there was such, and Sergio Leone, a lot of the big 4, right? Of the Clint Eastwood movies, and Searchers, Tom Ford, Stagecoach, you've got these Wild Bunch. It's these really vast environments, these big landscapes, right? These 70 millimeter and IMAX. So you're going to have all these big landscapes, big sky, big Mississippi, cotton is king. And I wanted to, in that inspiration of these films, is put a really extreme sort of geometrical shape that's small in that frame. Into these big environments. And so that really influenced me. And it influenced me to kind of go from this purity of white, right, to the juke joint. Now, I obviously didn't know what order at that time that it would go into, because he was still writing. But I felt like, okay, from what he's told me at that point, this is sort of what I want to do. So I just went in on the research, and then I started sketching and drawing. And I remember I sent him the sketch of the church, Annie's, and the juke joint. Those are the first three things that I designed. I like went into a trance.
All builds too.
All builds.
Juke joint and Annie's shack. 2
juke joints. The one on location kept. We're just gonna do the front. We're gonna do the front and 2 sides. All right, we're going to do the front and the front door. Okay, we're going to do the front. We're going to do all of that, and then we're going to do a little bit when you open the door in the main. Okay, well, then we're going to just do, and then on stage it was, okay, we're going to do the outside. Okay, then we're going to bring in dirt. Or we're going to bring in the cars. Or we're going to bring in all of the greens as well. So we kind of had 2 juke joints. But, and I kind of just went into this place and I, took pictures of the sketches and sent them to Ryan. I'm like, this is really like what I'm feeling for Annie's. This is really spiritual. She's from New Orleans, practicing hoodoo. I live in New Orleans for 25 years now, and like really felt that, kind of have understood that being in New Orleans and wanting to bring like that flavor of New Orleans to her in a way, to Maybelle Plantation. And the locations were really important. Like Ryan was like, I see oak trees around her. I'm like, I know exactly where that is, And we pushed and pushed and pushed. I'm like, I just wasn't going to settle for any other location than that location. I brought Ryan, and I'm like, doing the thing, and so it was really just the stories that he's told me, and then finding that and going in on that, and really just putting the detail in there and putting the history and really working on the process of the builds and how are we going to age it so it doesn't look like a set. Like it doesn't look like it just went there. It looks like it's always been there. And it was funny because when we were at Annie's, one of the Teamsters came up to me and he was like, I've been here lots of times and I didn't realize this was here. He's like, I didn't know this cabin was back here. And I was like, because it wasn't. And you're always like sort of torn where you're like, yes, we did the thing that we wanted to do. And then but we'd actually built it and did the work. But that's what I wanted to feel the whole time. Like it's lived in, it's been there because you have these performances that then awaken the set. And I wanted everything to awaken. And when you get to the juke joint, I brought a piece of every person into that. So you have Annie's oak trees in there. You've got the church, the X's of the church in the juke joint. You've got the grocery store in the juke joint. So all of those pieces of all of those people coming into there and colliding and building and building and building. So when you first see it with Hotwood, it's benign. But by the time you get to the stage with Sammy, you see that like darkness coming up on the back wall. You see the herringbone pattern. It's warmth in there. You've got the red. And then when Perlene is on stage and it's stomping, right? It's like we've got the dance floor where we built it so it kind of like did this movement, right? And even if you don't see it, for me, what's important is that the extras feel it. That Annie feels it, that Perlene feels that, so they can have these performances. And so I want to give, and so she can light. That's my favorite thing. Like I'll put stuff everywhere and I'll be like, Autumn's gonna find it. Autumn's gonna find it. And my one favorite thing, I'll tell one story because I love an antidote, right? And my favorite thing, and I'll just have to go back because then it shows up on Sinners, but Ryan said to me one day on Wakanda Forever, he's like, yeah, I was having this meeting with with Autumn about a shot in Shuri's, and Ryan was like, it's gonna be like right here, right? Like right here. And Autumn goes, why don't we do this? And he's like, Hannah's gonna love that because it's wide. And so we get to Sinners and it's just like these beautiful wides, this beautiful cinematography, beautiful costumes, beautiful performances. And it's everything I do is for that. I've got Ryan and Michael that have been in my life for 13 years, and I've watched these guys become, a director, become a father, become a businessman, and grow. And as they change, my designs have matured and changed with them throughout this whole journey. And with Ryan, you don't know what kind of phone call you're going to get, right? It's like, hey, Rocky. And I was like, Rocky? And then, hey, Black Panther, my son. I was like, Marvel, I don't know anything about that. And then it was like, okay, 1930s Mississippi, vampires. So, vampires, I was like the Lost Boys. And because everybody loves the Lost Boys, right? Like, let's give an applause to that. And so it's this journey. And that's the destination with Ryan, is the adventure. And you just have to give yourself over to it. And with that, there is this free will of creativity. While you have this leader and this guidance, it's the guidance of your ability to create. And that is something that you don't ever want to give up and that you always fight for. So when Ryan says, I need water next to the sawmill, well, we're not going to stop until we find water next to the sawmill. And like, and because I'm a little crazy, and you need that, right? And a little sensitive, because to be able to do this and dig in and dig deep, you've got to have that sensitivity. And when I get to see the actors on the sets, and I get to see them in the costumes, and I'm looking in the monitor and I'm watching Ryan, it's the most magic that you'll ever get to feel.
Autumn, that's a beautiful segue to you and your work shooting this film. I don't want to talk about the technical stuff so much. You are the first woman to shoot a film in 65 millimeter, which we can shout that out. And the mixture of 65 millimeter and IMAX in this film is incredible. I actually saw this in London opening weekend on one of the 4 biggest IMAX screens on the planet. And what I was most impressed by was, with a movie like this, the technical. As a director, I'm like, there's just so much technical you have to deal with. It never gets in the way of the story. It never gets in the way of the performances. So I'm actually curious to hear from you about working with Ryan to build a production footprint, a shooting style where these folks could do everything they need to do, but y'all could still make something that plays like a blockbuster on the biggest screens on the planet.
Thank you. Thank you, Hannah. I really truly care for the people that are up here. That's one thing. I think when Ryan calls, like she said, I'm really listening to kind of what's like heartfelt that he wants to convey to his audience, because he cares so much about his audience. And because I care about the people that are all up here, it will just infect the photography, like just naturally. And when you have someone that trusts you and you have like a partner next to you that really believes in you and you see yourself reflected on set, you really feel in your bones that like, where the camera should be, where the lighting should be. And especially in the South, that all of us on stage have a connection to. But yeah, it's also my job that, to make sure that everything's tight for him so that he can play with his actors and he can, tell the story that he wants to tell, because this one is so personal to him. So I want to make sure that I surround him with a team, and that, all the technical stuff we can put aside. We get that out of our way so that when we're together on set, we're just looking at what's in front of us. Because, Michael steps on set with that hat in that space with the texture of the church, it's like, you just know where the camera needs to be. It's like, it's in your bones. And I do feel that way with this film. It's like all the feelings that you got on set, like watching Ryan every day. He was so happy to make this movie, and it's infectious, and you care. So when you care, this is the type of film that comes out of that. And yeah, and then what she said too.
And Francine, casting the film, it's interesting. I imagine you're like in a beautiful mine, and there's just faces everywhere, and you're trying to, because you got Miles, it's his first film, and then you have Delroy Lindo, Mr. Sir Delroy Lindo. And it's kind of cool because in this film, those cast members, they aren't isolated. They aren't in silos. Everybody's sharing space all over this movie. So talk about keeping that in mind and working with Ryan to build the cast of this film.
Well, I have to talk about that I also work with you. And these 2 directors I'd follow I mean, I feel so just blessed that two of you have asked me to work on your movies, and I think I have to just say this, that you're both changing the way we see the world through your cinema. And what can I say? I can just say I'm honored that my name is on this movie, and that these actors here really, I have to say, because of you, Ryan, they just each, like I say this about you, that you saw them and you created a safe space. But you can say that about a lot of directors, but he really saw each of you. And, I've auditioned Jayme a bunch of times, and there's always kind of small roles or things. And, what you brought out in Jayme just touches me deeply, because I knew it was in her, but, I'm not a director. I can, and Juilliard and Wunmi, you Wunmi just, knocks me, I'm not going to curse, but, knocks me out, and this kid over here who was in the dark light, but I've said this and kind of been quoted, but I said I truly don't know if there's something above, but his voice makes me believe that there's something, there's something out there that is in you, and I feel like I'm seeing a young Ryan when we cast him. You haven't probably asked me this, but I'm going to do it this way anyway. I'm gonna Michael B. I mean, he just he's remarkable as an actor, and I really, having worked with a lot of actors and cast a lot of actors in his generation, I really think he's one of our best.
So Ryan, bro, because man, we're running short on time. But so I want to stay in the flow of the conversation. Everyone here is talking about the environment you create, the culture you manifest, and people are even talking about you have an idea, and you will call. You're not sure what the idea is or where it's going to go, but you will call and go, "I got this thing. Help me find it."
It was actually Zenzi that called for me on some of this, because I was writing, and I had a deadline, and she snuck on Ruth, Hannah, and Autumn, because they very in demand. Like they book movies like far out, and I was busy writing. I was like, hey, and I know like people have a hard time telling Zenzi no. Like they'll tell me.
How do you know that?
Well. But yeah, but it was we had to thread the needle, so I had to get ahead of it a bit. Mike beat me to the punch. He called me and pitched me a movie before I was done writing. But yeah, what were you saying? My bad.
I was just saying.
My bad, Barry.
No, but it's I think we're all here. It's a lot of filmmakers in the audience, people who have made films, want to make films, who are making films, and we're always trying to figure out, how do I decide to take the leap of faith? And it seems like you, especially with this film, you were so in demand, bro. You can do whatever the hell you want. And then you were washing the dishes and were like, yo, I want to do this. But it's a true story. Yeah. You were like, I want to do this.
Yeah.
And you just decided to take this leap of faith, knowing, I believe, based on the conversation I've heard, that these folks would take it with you. Now that we're here, the movie's been out. All these folks are out on a Saturday night.
And thank y'all.
Appreciate y'all for coming. Thank y'all.
I just want to know how it feels to be on this side of that first phone call. Your wife calling your collaborators. You call your man calling you, and you going, yo, I hear you, but check this. How does it feel to be here now? Have you had a moment to take it in?
I was taking it in this whole time, man. Like just being here next to you. You know what you mean to me, and what your movies mean to me.
Appreciate that.
It's so
Well, let me just say, the history with us, I'll never forget, I was living in the Bay Area. It was me and another filmmaker.
You don't know the whole history. Let me tell you the whole history.
To tell me the whole history, all right, bro.
So the whole history with me and you is, bro, I'm in film school, and
because I'm old,
and I see a trailer, and my bro say, you gotta watch this trailer. He sends it to me. It's black and white. Black man, black woman in San Francisco, they on bicycles. And then
you were like, ain't no black people on bicycles.
It has a quote. It has a quote that says the best film I saw at SXSW. I had no fucking idea what that meant. But I'm like, yo, this trailer is awesome. What is SXSW? You know what I mean? So my classmate said, that's South by Southwest. It's an amazing film and music festival, and this movie was the best movie there. So I said, yo, I gotta find this movie. I tracked it down, fell in love with this movie, found your website, saw a short film of a couple at a laundromat, washing an American flag. I said, yo, I gotta meet this dude someday. Then we got to the part you about to talk about.
And the part I was going to talk about was Fruitvale Station has gotten into Sundance, and Brian this is like 3 weeks before Sundance. I'm in the Bay Area, so we take Ryan out to dinner, me and this other filmmaker named Rashad Ernesto Green. And we're sitting down. Yes, shout out for that cat. We're sitting there, and I just realized there's an energy in Ryan Coogler that is about to enter the world in the most beautiful way. And what I was going to say is that same energy is sitting on stage beside me. It's the same energy that these folks experience on those sets, and that your wife knows will be there when it's time for you to go and create work. And that's why she can make those calls and make them honestly. So I guess just a way of saluting you, bruh, because it's wonderful to see someone's journey, but then be there as it's manifested. So you have to have the last word, bruh. So
my last word is thank you, Barry, for taking time out of your busy schedule to be here tonight. That shit means the world. You are an awesome filmmaker, but an incredibly efficient interviewer, bro. That shit, I'm seeing a show here, bro. like, god damn. But I just want to say thanks to all of y'all, man. I know some of y'all saw this for the first time, and some of y'all saw this for a multiple time. It was an honor in my professional life to make this movie, and to open myself up first to my collaborators, and then to you guys. So thank y'all for showing up.
Ladies and gentlemen, the cast and crew of Sinners.